Jones hiring there, Rudy?
Oh, well, I have no idea. I don't even think he does. When you look at the hiring pattern of Jerry Jones, he's hired offensive guys, he's hired defensive guys, he's promoted from within a couple times. I mean, up to this point, I think he's honestly done, everything, and he hasn't been able to find that magic that they had in the 90s with Jimmy Johnson and Barry Switzer.
Rudy, how hands-on is he? I mean, do you recall? I mean, is he everyone says he's the GM, but none of us here at this table played for the Dallas Cowboys. You did. Is he as hands-on as everybody says?
Oh, yeah. I have a interesting experience with Jerry Jones simply because, I was just an undrafted free agent that, really, I don't think the organization really cared much about until they did. And I was just a practice squad guy to start. Or actually, I made the active roster week one. They didn't want to get rid of me, or they didn't want me to go somewhere else. And then they put me on practice squad. But ultimately, when the Bucs came to sign me, it was interesting because Jerry Jones literally brought me back into his office and kept me back there for hours, so I couldn't get to my phone and give the Bucs an answer. He was offering me all kinds of different money and deals and different things, but they didn't have room on the active roster, and I needed to get on the active roster, not just so much for the money, but for the benefits, for my 401k, pension, those types of things. I'm lucky I decided to make the move that I did, but Jerry's also, known to, I guess, bypass agents when it comes to player negotiations as well. He did it with Tony Romo. He did it with Jason Witten. He's done it with DeMarcus Ware. He's done it with Dez Bryant. I've seen all of those happen, but a lot of times he'll, literally just call players into the office, try to negotiate with them right there without their agents, which is totally illegal, by the way, but he does it all the time. But look, at the end of the day, it's the Dallas Cowboys is Jerry Jones's baby. You can say whatever you want to say about Jerry, but if you look at, I think he bought that for like $400 million or whatever it was, and what it's worth now, a couple billion, and probably the most successful sports agent or sports organization in the world. Even every single year they're terrible for the last 10, 15 years, and they're literally the national game of the week every week on national TV. So you can say what you want to say. He's built an incredible business.
You think, Rudy, by the way, I think they're worth $8.2 billion now. They came out a few weeks ago. Do you think that the new coach has just to be resolved, that your job is to go in and coach, that if you want any say-so whatsoever, forget it? And as you think about that, because you deal with a lot of coaches, you talk about Jerry Jones, you think McCarthy, they talk about the length of the contract they couldn't agree on. You think it might have been him wanting to have some say in the personnel moves, that if he didn't, he would move on? How do you read that current situation? How do you read it moving forward?
Probably, but I just think at the end of the day, what Mike McCarthy realized is what every coach, that has, been the Dallas Cowboys coach since Jimmy Johnson has understood, which is, at the end of the day, they don't have any say over the personnel, and Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones and the scouts that are there and the de facto GMs that are there. They are the ones that decide on all personnel issues, especially Jerry. And it's just really, really, really hard, to win that way when you're an offensive coach or a defensive coach, or you're formulating your coaching staff and you're trying to run a certain scheme on offense or defense. You need certain players. Not all players fit every single scheme, and you need to draft players that fit your scheme, and then you need to give those guys time to develop within the scheme. And at the end of the day, that's just not how it's been in Dallas. And how it's been in Dallas is that the head coach coaches, and ultimately Jerry and his son Steven and Jerry Jr. are going to decide on what they're going to do from a personnel standpoint. And, in my viewpoint, they've hit on some guys, but, ultimately, it hasn't been enough.
All right. So how long then is Mike McCarthy on the marketplace, and who grabs him in your opinion?
Well, it's interesting because I think part of what happened, with him just recently is that he knew he was going to be a free agent. The Chicago Bears put in to interview him. The Dallas Cowboys rejected it. That probably made Mike, a little frustrated because he knew that was going to hurt his negotiation power. But I would imagine the New Orleans Saints are probably going to want to kick the tires on him. I'm sure there's a few teams out there that are going to want to kick the tires on him. He's a guy that's been in the NFL. He's won a Super Bowl. He's been super successful. So, I would imagine that there's a chance he could get a job, but there's some other names that are out there that are sexy too, like Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn and guys like that. And for me, I think Mike McCarthy's a good coach. I think he's a good offensive coach. I think he's had a lot of success in the league. I just get a little tired of watching the recycled coaches continue to get jobs. Me personally, I would like to see Aaron Glenn get a chance. I would like to see Ben Johnson get a chance. I would like to see some of these guys get chances who have done a really, really good job in their roles as assistant coaches in the NFL for a long time.
I think most of anywhere you stop and think about that particular carousel, and whoever gets hired by that Dallas job, it'll be, to me, it'll be the same old Cowboys in reference to that moving forward. And I think those are some things you look at. Now, as far as the assistant coaches and McCarthy, if you're a Cowboy fan, what magic dust is there going to be with any new coach coming into the Dallas Cowboys if the general manager and his son, so to speak, can't get it fixed?
Yeah, it's going to be the same. I mean, it's going to continue to be what it's been, which is, sometimes a team that wins 12 games or more and loses early in the playoffs, or a team that misses the playoffs and is a barely 500 football team. I mean, like I said, to me, Jerry's done some incredible things business-wise and been able to really inflate the value of that franchise, which has been incredibly important for the rest of the NFL. It really has. I mean, it's why Jerry has one of the most
coming up on the 39-minute mark
meeting and maybe the most impactful voice. But at the end of the day, he's proven that he's just not a good talent evaluator, and his son Steven, they've proven that they just don't do a good job building a team that can consistently win.
Rudy, there is a game tonight, final in the first round of the playoffs, the Rams and Vikings. Sam Darnold got lit up in his last game against the Detroit Lions. We know what the Rams are going to bring. They are healthy. How do you see this game tonight? And is all the pressure on the Vikings QB, Sam Darnold?
Yeah, I mean, I think, Sam's had an incredible resurgence this year. I think Kevin O'Connell's done a great job with that football team. Obviously, a win in the first round would go a long way for Sam Darnold. I think he's already, come a long way this year in the resurgence of his career. But it would be a big win for Kevin. It would be a big win for Sam Darnold.
Here's the 40-minute.
Out. I would like to see, Kevin get a playoff win, and I'd like to see Sam play great and continue on in the playoffs and see, the run they could make just so we can see a different team. But I also like the Rams and Matthew Stafford and what they've been able to do and consistently put themselves in a position to win and get themselves into the playoffs. And I think ultimately, if the Rams win, I think they're going to have to go on the road to Detroit, right? I don't know. I think that's what it is. And that would be an interesting matchup with Stafford going back to Detroit, if that's what it is. I'm not sure. But,
That's Philly. It's actually Philly.
Philly.
Yeah, it'd be Philly.
There you go. Well, either way, it should be a good game. I mean, they're both good football teams. I do think that the fact that this is a de facto road game now for both teams is a benefit, most likely, for the Vikings.
Hey, we'll leave you with this one. This last question for you. According to a lot of gambling sites, Deion Sanders is the favorite for the Cowboy job because, of course, the history with the Cowboys and Jerry Jones. Can you see that happening? And they're talking about a $15 million a year range.
I mean,
You would be
I
surprised.
have no idea.
Would you be surprised?
Nothing surprises me when it comes to Jerry Jones, the Dallas Cowboys, and Deion Sanders. I mean, say whatever you want to say about Dion, but the dude's done an incredible job staying relevant, marketing himself. I mean, everything he's done post his career, I mean, has really been, I think, incredible. Say whatever you want, as well. But I think that his Colorado team has shown vast improvement, since he's been there. One of the things that I think is tough, I think a lot of people look at Dion and think he's just a cool guy that runs a cool program. But, like, when you actually look at it, Dion is very Nick Saban-like. He's very old school. He's very focused on discipline. He's very focused on, not wearing hats inside, not wearing earrings, tank tops, flip-flops, doing all this right stuff. And I think that stuff, to a certain extent, works in college. But when you start doing that stuff in the NFL with grown men who have wives and their own kids, they hate it. They hate that type of stuff. And it's, as Nick Saban saw going to the NFL, it was very hard, for him to be successful. And, I think Dion tries to model himself after Nick a little bit. And I think that style in the NFL would be, a little difficult. But again, it's Deion Sanders. It would be a sexy move. It would get a lot of headlines. And I think that's something that Jerry Jones chases as well.
No question. Hey, thanks for the time today, Rudy. Have a good week.
All right, guys, take care.
Rudy Carpenter joining us. You can follow him on Twitter at RudyGCarp12. He's brought to you today by All City Towing. Join the team at the largest towing company in the state, and that is, of course, All City Towing. They are hiring dispatchers, call takers, drivers, customer service personnel, all types of different positions, great benefits, employer-paid life insurance being one of them, monthly fuel allowance, all good stuff. So if you're ready to take your career to the next level in this new year, visit them online at allcitytowing.com. That's All City Towing, where your future is on the move. Well, coming up, the Rams and Vikings will cap off the wild card weekend. And unless you've been completely busy or just out of this country, the game will be played at State Farm Stadium in Glendale. We'll give you the latest on that. We're live from the Trophy Bar in Chandler. It's Rock and Manooch with Jimmy B on ESPN.